On the whimsical Willowhoof Hill sits a place known to few, Muleberry Hollow, a bizarre but charming farm that defies the realities of ordinary maps. Those who dare to venture beyond the sign marked "Absolutely no normalcy beyond this point" will find themselves on a trail adorned with floating feathers leading them to this peculiar agricultural paradise. Muleberry Hollow is ruled by the quirky and charismatic Griselda Gingersnort, known affectionately as the Witch of Willowhoof Hill. With her luscious ivy-like hair and a hat grand enough to cover an entire chicken coop, Griselda defies traditional farming. Instead of crops, she nurtures help, in the form of literate, hoofed creatures known as donkey girls. Introducing Tilly Tumbleseed, a spirited young girl with a heart full of wonder and breadcrumbs in her pockets. Tilly arrived at the farm on a particularly enchanted morning, drawn by a very peculiar sign: "Farm help wanted, must love nature, magic, and possibly hay." Entranced by the symphony of singing frogs and the graceful dance of glowing lanterns, Tilly arrived at Griselda's crooked green door. With a flourish of scented breeze, Griselda welcomed her with an appraising eye. "Oh ho! Fresh curiosity and a nose for adventure. You'll do nicely, my dear," Griselda sang melodiously, leading Tilly into a realm of wonder, offering her a cup of tea that murmured compliments with every sip. Muleberry Hollow was alive with vibrant chaos. Goats boasting monocles engaged in critical chess matches with squirrels. A particularly harmonious cabbage strummed lullabies whilst amusing itself in a hammock. And, of course, the donkey girls were ever present, gracefully reciting poetry, dedicatedly balancing ledgers, whimsically hauling carts shimmering with glitter. Initially, Tilly's curiosity led her to believe these creatures were enchanted livestock. Her suspicions took a curious turn when one donkey promptly addressed her, "Excuse me, you've dropped your optimism." By the time the sun descended upon Muleberry Hollow, the novelty began to wane, replaced by enigmatic murmurs. Murmurs such as, "Don't eat the hay pudding, it hums at night," "Never compliment Griselda's wart, it harbors grudges," and the most daunting of all warnings, "Whatever you do, don't peek inside the spell shed." That's where the tales begin. Thus, as twilight enveloped the ethereal farm, Tilly stood bewildered with tea in hand amidst the enchantment. She cast a suspicious glance at the bonnet-donning donkey who had just winked for no apparent reason. One thing stood undeniable: this job was not ordinary. It was merely the commencement of something quite fuzzy indeed. The thing about magical barns is they never creak unless they're feeling cheeky. And on this particular morning, the barn at Muleberry Hollow was positively smirking. Why? Because Tilly Tumbleseed was about to have a day she'd never forget, and her feet would never forgive. After a night of uneasy dreams involving carrot soufflés and talking saddles, Tilly awoke to the sound of braying in harmony. It was oddly beautiful. She tiptoed out of her hay-scented guest room, which had curtains that tied themselves, and followed the sound to the big red barn at the edge of the orchard. Inside was a world of wonders. Crates of glittering apples floated midair, a loom wove saddle blankets on its own, and, most curiously, an enormous book sat on a velvet pedestal, humming an off-key lullaby. Its title, The Breezy Beasts Compendium, Volume 12, Transfiguration for the Stylish Witch. Naturally, Tilly opened it. Now, one must never read aloud from a magical book unless one is fluent in Spellish and has completed a 3-week yawn-proofing course. Tilly had neither qualification. So when she muttered the curious phrase, "Bracious transformala," well, the magic did what magic always does when ignored: it exploded politely. With a shimmering pop, her ears grew long and velvety. Her nose twitched. Her laughter turned into a surprised "HAW." Her boots burst apart to reveal adorable, clumsy hooves trimmed with silver fluff. A tiny tail sprang from her backside and gave an experimental wag, as if asking, "Are we doing this now?" Griselda arrived seconds later in a flurry of enchanted aprons and floating teaspoons. Oh my sugar-basted turnips. Not the self-starter donkification spell. That one's got pep, she gasped. Then, more delighted, but look at you, ears like velvet swans, hooves as dainty as dewdrops. You're a natural. Tilly, wide-eyed and partway to pasture perfection, stammered something unintelligible and accidentally kicked over a wheelbarrow of glow-in-the-dark hay. Worry not, darling, Griselda said, handing her a sparkly clipboard and a tail cozy. You're in phase 1, the fuzzy bloom. A bit of bray, a bit of bloom, and plenty of sass. You'll fit in splendidly. That afternoon, Tilly attended her first Donkey Girl Essentials class. Bramble, dignified, monocled, and prone to quoting Emily Bronte, led the group in synchronized tail flicks, balance training, on barrels, naturally, and lessons in expressive braying for emotional impact. The girls welcomed Tilly warmly, hoof-bumping her and complimenting her ear sheen. Mopsy, the pink bow-wearing donkey girl with a talent for rhymes, even offered her a daisy crown. And yet, as the sun dipped below the cinnamon-colored hills, Tilly stood outside the barn, tail swishing thoughtfully. I'm not a donkey, she whispered. Not yet, the wind teased in reply. Being part donkey is a bit like wearing a fuzzy secret you're not sure you should tell anyone about. Your ears pick up whispers of mushrooms gossiping. Your hoofs click with confidence on cobblestones. And your tail, it develops opinions. Tilly Tumbleseed had officially entered what Griselda called Phase 2, the gleeful grazer. Her ears had grown long and expressive enough to wave goodbye on their own. Her hooves sparkled faintly under moonlight. And her tail, once shy, had developed a taste for rhythm. Though startled at first by the transformation, Tilly soon found herself slipping into the fuzzy life like it was a favorite cardigan made of enchanted moss. Griselda provided her a diary bound in soft bark and enchanted to hum lullabies when left open too long. In it, Tilly scribbled her evolving thoughts with a quill clutched between her teeth. Day 7, woke up chewing my pillow. Not mad about it. Dreamed I was tap dancing with Bramble on a floating bale of hay. Reality check, it wasn't a dream. I am nailing this brayography thing. Also, I'm 63% certain my tail has a crush on Mopsy's tail. More research required. The barnyard buzzed with activities, donkey girls juggling apples, composing haiku, weaving enchanted ribbons with their teeth. There was a midweek seminar called Hey There! Building confidence through braying, followed by oat milk lattes and you staying caffeinated as a partial equine. And the donkey girls themselves? A parade of personalities. Bramble, the dignified one, insisted on reading horoscopes aloud every morning. Mopsy, the romantic, had embroidered flowers on her own ears. Gingersnap, the rebel, had painted her hooves with glow-in-the-dark paint and claimed she could break dance in the moonlight. But even among the laughs, Tilly found herself pondering things. Like, was it still her voice when it ended in a bray? Was she still herself when nibbling sunflowers felt like a delicacy? Late one evening, curled up in a hammock made of braided tail ribbons, she wrote quietly in her diary, "Is it still a transformation if I'm starting to like it?" Just then, her tail offered a reassuring pat on her flank. It was a fuzzy kind of comfort. Moments later, the barn lights blinked on, enchanted fireflies wearing tiny spectacles, and Bramble called everyone to the front hayloft for poetry night. Tilly joined the group, her hooves tapping gently, her ears perked, her tail fluffing into a perfect comma shape of intrigue. One bray at a time, she was becoming part of something. Something utterly absurd, deliciously magical, and deeply, surprisingly, home.